welcome to another edition of Shelf Life and Death. And but today it is, I guess, like Shelf Life and Sex, because we're hitting up the naughty and nice list with this find that I got from Chapters, probably around like late 2000s, and I found this in the bargain section actually, which is where I used to love to dig around for stuff before I really got serious about going to like secondhand bookshops. And this lovely little hardcover is Belle de Jour, Diary of an Unlikely Call Girl. And this was published in 2006 by Anonymous at the time. And apparently this book started out as a blog in like 2003, 2004, got published into a book in 2006, and had a couple of other sort of follow-ups. Actually, I think it might have been published in like a little bit before 2006, because there were two other books that came after this. And it also got adapted into a TV miniseries in 2007 as well, too. And what this book is about is essentially this young lady living in London worked as a call girl, escort, for 2 years while she attended university to pay for her tuition fees and stuff like that, and wrote about her experiences. Very not quite like happy hooker, do you know what I mean? I mean, she wasn't in it for like, for her own sort of pleasure and whatnot. I mean, she was in it for the money, but it's just so great. Like, I love reading about people who have like no hang-ups about sex. It's fantastic. So this is like set out in diary style throughout an entire year, sort of going from like January to January. And essentially it's adapted from, her, not daily, but like often blog post entries. And it's kind of interesting because, one of the things that I liked about it was that like it wasn't this like salacious, read where like all these things were detailed, and she does talk about like her customers like kinks and things like that, but I mean it's not really like erotic literature, it's very like business-like, and it's very funny, and there's a lot of sort of personal stuff sprinkled in with like her friends, her family, her ex-boyfriends, and how that all sort of ties into like what she's doing for a living while she's attending university. So I guess spoiler alert, she revealed her own identity in 2009. Her name is Brooke Magnani, and she's actually now a forensic scientist and writer. And so she outed herself essentially because she was pretty sure that she was going to be outed at some point. Decided to take it into her own hands and be like, yeah, that was me. And I did that stuff, and like, but now I'm like this respected scientist and writer, and like I don't give a fuck. And like that's also fantastic, right? Because nothing to be ashamed of. Sex work, nothing at all. And so this, I mean, frankly, there is like some more detail in this. Like, I believe honestly most of it. Some of the stuff though, like I have a hard time believing that like all of your best friends are like your ex-boyfriends, and like they all hang out together, and like, there's like no friction, and it's like, it's kind of strange. Like she seemed to have sort of odd friendships, like with her friends, like all of whom I think she had like slept with and or dated, not necessarily in that order. So like that was a little bit bizarre. She didn't have a lot of like female friends, and I mean, for a long time in my life, neither did I. I related more to guys, but I sort of wonder if that kind of went along like with the job territory, like maybe she just didn't get along with other women very well or what. But one of my favorite openings from one of these little like blog diary entries in here is she just starts off the day with "Anal is the new black." And I guess, I don't know, early 2000s, like anal sex was, the up and coming hot thing, and like everybody wanted to do it. And you know. So I mean, if you were listed as an escort that, you know, kind of offered these services, then like she was apparently, according to her, quite popular, because she would, you know, do all this stuff. uh, but you know, sometimes it's like a little glimpse into people's lives, and like sometimes people, you know, that she dated or had a date with, you know, just wanted to talk, or some people like just wanted to, you know, massage her feet, or like some people wanted arm candy for an event. And you know, it's sort of interesting on like how she was able to kind of keep these things like separate and not get too involved and stuff like that. But it's also really nice too in that, like, even though like it is probably somewhat semi-fictionalized, you know, obviously like names and things are, you know, changed, or it reminds me a lot of like if you've read any of the old sorry for camera shaking, Tippy is playing around on my table. If you read any of the old sort of I don't think Victorian is the right word, but you know, like Marquis de Sade type stuff, things like that, like any of the sort of like old-fashioned naughty books, you know, everyone's referred to as like Mr. God damn it, cat. Like Mr. W, or like Ms. N, or, you know, just sort of by their initials, and like, you know, things like that. And that's how it's written in this. She's sort of kind of adopting that sort of like French naughty novel style. And it's kind of fun. There's so much like kind of a weird mishmash of like, you know, entries where she's talking about one day, you know, like peeing on someone in a bathtub for like $500, and like the next day, you know, she like has to go to her parents' place for like Hanukkah. So, you know, and she's trying to be like, you know, like a good Jewish daughter on one hand, but like work as a call girl on the other hand, and, you know, not really like talk about it with her parents. Like I think they have a vague idea of what's going on, but you know, things do get kind of mixed up at some point in her life when she's trying to like keep everything separate. So you know, it was sort of weird how she managed her like finances as well. But I mean, a lot of stress through here was, you know, through relationships, and while she, you know, was saying that she was okay dating someone and this guy was fine with her, you know, doing sex work and whatnot, like, of course, are they ever really fine? Turns out, no. So it sort of, you know, gives a peep into, you know, how this can affect your like relationships with like your friends, and like with your loved ones, and with your family, and, you know, your social life, and things like that as well too. It was a good read. Definitely not as naughty a read as like the Xavier Hollander like Happy Hooker books, because I mean, like, that wasn't the point. Like, it wasn't a point to write like a book about sex, but it was just sort of more of like a, you know, peek into, you know, someone's daily life. As, you know, some people like, you know, are in school and they like pick up stripping, or like some people pick up, you know, a coffee shop job, like some people pick up like escorting, you know, whatever you have to do to sort of get you through school. And it obviously like worked for her, which is great. Not something that I don't think I could do, although, like, to be honest, I did seriously consider stripping for a while. Sorry, Mom. Because I thought you could make like pretty good money about it, right? But it's weird the way that she had to, you know, sort of not like lie to people that she met about like what she did, but I mean, you know, not really like get into it because like of the whole stigma surrounding, you know, sex work and things like that. And, you know, she was always, you know, petrified that she was going to run into a client like socially somewhere, and how awkward it was going to be, you know, especially if they were like there with their spouse or something like that. So that was kind of, you know, cringy funny. Like, it's like watching a movie where like a Ben Stiller movie, like Meet the Parents, where like, you know, like all these, you know, these terrible things are going to happen to this person, and you just, you know, it sort of makes you feel bad for them. But like, on the other hand, like, you know, they kind of chose this. So even though it said it was like a, you know, shocking and you know, amazing read and things like this, and a bestseller in London and whatnot, it is like probably like a really good version, like a kind of a modern version of the happy hooker. Again though, like not because she went into it like just because she liked sex. Although don't get me wrong, like this girl also liked sex, her own sex, not paid sex, but sex in general. So very sex positive book in that like it doesn't, you know, like crap on anyone's interests or anyone's kinks or fetishes or things like that. Or, you know, there's nothing wrong with like paying for sex. Like there's nothing wrong with sex work. There's, you know, it's very like sex positive in that way, like, which I really enjoyed. You know, and she was like not like ashamed of anything she did, which was fantastic. And she's like, do I encourage other people to do this? Well, like, you know, if you think it's for you, like, there's nothing wrong with it. So, like, you know, don't be afraid to try it, kind of thing. But be aware that, like, there are these problems that might come along with it that affect, you know, your social life or your professional life or, you know, your relationship with, like, your spouse or your partner or your parents. Like, so it was lucrative, but not without its pitfalls, kind of thing. And it was like an easy read and like sort of like little diary tidbits and things like that. And she goes through and also does like a little list of, you know, 8 like alphabets, you know, H is for this, I is for this, J is for jealousy, I is for invisibility. And it sort of gives you like little, you know, do's and don'ts if you know, decide to go into being a call girl while you're in university. I mean, I don't know how much of this would like sort of fly, you know, in 2022 kind of thing. And I have to say though, like I'm super like proud that she sort of outed herself and, you know, was like, yeah, that was me. And I don't really care. And she wrote a bunch of the other books too, but I haven't read them. And, I don't think I want to read them, honestly, because I think this was enough for me. But it's a fun read, and I'll hang on to this, and I'll reread this every now and then, just for, you know, sort of shits and giggles, and maybe a little bit of that voyeurism feeling too, because I mean, hey, who doesn't like to read about like other people's sex lives, right? Anyways, 2006, Belle de Jour by Anonymous, who's also Brooke Manetti. And if anybody out there has like seen the little miniseries starring Billie Piper that they made about this, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you liked it, if it's worth checking out. Otherwise, I will see you guys again for another episode. Bye!